Welcome everybody to King Mexico podcast. And today I have a special guest. I'm not gonna front. The man has many talents. He's not just stuck in one field. He conquers in many. If you follow him, you're gonna find out a whole lot today. Let him know who you are, sir.
Let me just adjust this a little bit. So my name is Carlos Luna. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I've been an artist, I want to say a good, like professionally, like really good at what I'm doing, maybe top end, maybe 10 years. I've been doing good work that has given me like that learning curve for 15 years. And I think that I've been pushing the art now, I want to say a good 20 years. I mean, I've done art when I was a kid, but as a kid, you don't focus, you don't like take it on for real, because, it's just some kid stuff. But I think that I want to give it like 15, 20 years.
Nice. And just to, go back before we got on live, I didn't realize that you have your page, right? That I found you on, right? And you do your cooking, you do your promotions for your gear, then you do like the little t-shirt thing that you wanted people to vote on. And also you have your own like tattoo page. And when I saw that the other day, I was like, wow. Like, I've been like focusing on your work for a while, but I never knew yet you had a separate page for your tattoos. And then when I saw it, I was like, what? It like blew my mind. I was like, wow. I'm like, I like how you so low key. You just snuck it in one day, and then that's it. It was like a jab. It was like a push, and you pushed it back, and that's it. All right, cool. If y'all caught it, y'all caught it. If y'all didn't, y'all didn't.
So, I think that I'm kind of getting. I'm 46 years old, going on 1,000. I think that I'm starting to grasp the idea of how I'm supposed to present things professionally. So I've calmed down a lot as far as like my mental my mental operations, like, or how I process information. And I noticed that I have to categorize things and separate things so people can appreciate things at their leisure or to their understanding. So I've had other pages, but the Lune Arts has been the longest running one. But I throw in so many things in there that people can not really focus on what it is, because I put so many things. So I decided, let me be correct. So I decided to do the Lune Ink, which is solely about tattoo content and material and my work. It's pretty light because I could beef it up, but I just had to do it for my own mind and for the world, you know what I mean? So they can like, okay, he's got all this stuff going on the Lune Arts. It's entertaining, or like whatever it's informative, education. But then I have the Lune Ink, which I'm just gonna solely pump just like my work, my design work for tattooing, and a little bit of trajectory of what I've learned, maybe some history. It's tattoo related, So this I'm learning because a lot of people have different pages and different lanes, so that helps out, right? So periodically I'll throw that in there in the page, and the Lune Arts page, and then people like see it, they're like, oh wait, and then they'll go to Lune Ink, and that's where the tattooing is, So it's kind of like a little focal point for people,
Nice. But yeah, and then in general, when I see your line work, right? And that's a big thing when it comes down to tattooing. And just the foundation, how you take about it. Like when you do the sketch that day, the first time I caught it, like deep, is when you was doing the lady and you added like the snake on top and then the crown. and then you fixed it up. And then the second time around, when you really went from blank, you showed a piece of white paper, and then you're like, this is gonna be a sailor boat. And
Right.
you're like doing little lines. Like I was like this. I was like, oof, all up in my phone. And you're like, I know you probably can't see it, but I was like so close. I'm like, oh yeah, you could see it. And you could see that you did the tips, you did the bottom, you did the ankler, but you was already spreading it out, how you was gonna lay it out and how it was gonna go to the skin. And then you're like, all right, so from here to here, because it was gonna go on the leg, right?
Yes.
And then you had measured it and it was like, all right, so this is about the measurements. Don't worry about it if it's flat, because once I tattoo it, it's gonna go around. So it's gonna
Correct.
curve
Correct.
in.
Correct.
And
So
then I was, yeah, go for
yeah.
it.
So um, traveling has helped me a lot. When I started tattooing, I learned from like artists that I looked up to as far as like on my reach, like my homies, like older homies or dudes who are already tattooing. I ended up like running into tattoo content when I was on vacation, you know, those vacations. And I really wanted to do it, but I just didn't know like the approach. I just know that I wanted to do it and I could do it. So I had a couple of my friends show me how to use, you know, first we made the homemade tattoo machine out of a cassette deck, you know, the little motor. You pull out the cassette deck
Ooh,
motor.
you going
So
old school.
then like, you know, you put the battery in and you build the rig with like a guitar string and all that stuff. So what that did was it taught me how to you know, fill in an area where you want either a shade or a shape or a line, but not necessarily make a solid line by dotting it, and that shade builds the line. So I was already starting to draw more like that. And then when my friend showed me how to use the professional tattoo machines, I started trying to applying that theory, but I had to learn how to maneuver that. So style of art I was already driven to or learning how to do was kind of like sketch style. Um, and that's kind of like more of like the realisms of black and gray LA style, which is all over the world now. Um, is you know, the LA style, as it's called, it took like it took over because it was coming out of the streets. It was coming out of like, you know, the lockups, like people coming out and like having that style of tattooing on them. But when I was learning that, and I thought I was getting big headed, I was like, oh, I'm learning, I'm badass. My ego started getting inflated. I thought I was a little superstar. I was like impressing people, and I was starting to do like tattoo parties and this and that, right? Um, and I was like, you know, thinking I'm like a superstar, whatever. But then I started focusing on tattoo magazines, and like it stopped me because the tattoo magazines showed me that I was not nowhere near what was on these magazines. I had seen magazines before, but until you start applying it is when you're like, oh, I got this. And I started looking at these magazines. I'm like, no, I don't got this. So I started learning about like what I was seeing, but I didn't know how to apply it. So as I was like learning, I did have to check my ego. I had to like bring down my energy down. Like, okay, I don't really think I'm there. And I started like learning and like moving around and started going to tattoo conventions. And then I started getting exposed to other type of tattooing, like bold coloring, traditional solid line, like neo-traditional tribal. And I've tried a lot of styles to learn, but then I went back to how I started, right? Like that sketch style. like that soft shade sketch style. And then I applied that to my art. And I do all type of art, right? I'll sketch it out, I'll trace it, I'll overlap it, customize it. I've done everything, I'll print it out and trace it or just do it straight on, but then, changing my style. But then when I went to travel to Europe, that's when like my mind got it exploded, because I got exposed over there to some really bold, solid line work. And it was worth learning so much of it, because that then made me understand value, like art, like how much ink value or line value you're gonna add to a design. It was amazing to learn all that. But most of my work, I just go back to how I started, keeping that knowledge, but doing what I kind of like figure is my little niche, right? Like my little arena, my little like style, you can say, which I like to do all kind of art, but that's where I kind of like, that whole round of going places and just coming back to what I do, which is light sketch work on the art, and then build up shapes and lines. And then once you have an area where you're gonna make a decisive line, then I'll know where to come and make that decisive line, whether it's like a solid black line or a bold line or bold shading. But I try to implement the drawing style to my tattoo style. And it's more complex than that, but that's kind of like a little idea, like of how I went back to doing what I originally learned how to, tattoo and draw.
Nice. Somebody wants to know about the portrait in the back. What's the backstory on that? And you say he's not just a tattoo artist, guys. He also does portraits.
So I don't know how clean it looks or how the lighting is, because I got all kind of sort of lighting. I try to do my best with the lighting in here without, breaking that that focus. But painting is one of my weapons, I want to say, one of my pieces in my arsenal. And it's something that when I'm painting, I do all type of art, but when I'm like put passion into a painting like this, like I'm all in, I'm going all in, but I'm gonna make it fire, bro. Like, the situation that happened with this tragedy, I just decided I took it upon myself to do an art piece for them, of them. And I just like, I always wrap myself up in the most complicated situations. Like I looked at a lot of like photos online, and there was other ones that I could have done that were not simpler, but just maybe not as challenging, in the execution.
Mm-hmm.
This one specifically because of the jacket, specifically because of they're so close together. But then like I was looking at all the like options that I had a few printed out, and then I was like, I gotta make this one happen. Like, especially because all the confetti stuff, designs, I think they took this photo in Disneyland somewhere, Disneyland somewhere, I think it was Disneyland. And they had like confetti thing hanging in the back. You can find this picture online. So, not minding this, because I'm gonna like put other colors and stuff like that, but just having all these bits made this complex to do, right? So, but once I started, like I went on, and I started it like January 1st or 2nd, and I wanted to rock it out, for their anniversary. And I got really, really close. I made all of this happened by the time it was, that situation, the date. It's not done yet, but I keep it here because like it's just energy and power to me, just the accomplishment of doing the portraits of them. But it's like just there's so much energy in that image, and so much love and like care, right? They're like together, and it's just that situation is heavy.
Word,
So
it's really a Disney picture. You know what I mean?
right.
It really shows all that Disney love, And then people don't understand, like, there's a big difference. And I'm just speaking out of, from what I hear and people tell me. So when it comes down to tattooing, drawing, sketching, painting, all of them are difficult in their own way. And a lot of people who is crazy because you would not find many tattoo artists who are so well rounded, guys. Like, you really don't understand painting. Like, there's people who just sketch and they'll tell you, like, all I do is sketch, but give them a brush and they'll be like a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old trying to paint on a canvas, and they're like, yo, I can't do it. No matter how incredible they could be with a paper, pencil, and pen, give them a canvas with oil or watermark, and they'll like completely go off. It's like, nah, I can't do it. And it's wild. It's so wild. How do you balance that, man? Because I know, because from
I know exactly everything you describe is on point, is exactly how the mind works as far as challenges, correct?
Yeah.
And I'm putting together some content, which I'm gonna put I'm gonna put it into I don't know how I'm gonna package this. Like, I want to put some video with some written content with some photos, and I'm gonna put together an ebook because I want to present to people how I believe you can unlock things within yourself and in your mind to process a more artistic approach in life. It's not just about like this stuff that I'm putting together. It's not just for artists. It is its main meat and potatoes is about being an artist, but it's not going to be just for artists. It's going to be how to be artistic. So to kind of like elaborate a little bit on the question of how I balance or how I'm learning, is that I used to, like, it's just the power of the imagination. And at some point, like, we're using imagination a lot and we're processing thoughts in our mind. But at some point in what we consider adulthood, we kind of disconnect from what I consider the innocence of that, like that genius, innocent power that you have when you're young, when you're a kid. Because when you're a kid, a lot of things are possible in your mind. You don't know consequence, you don't know danger. You might a little bit, but not really know. And then when you get older, you kind of, change because, there's chemical changes in your body naturally when you're, getting of age, whatever it is, 11, 15, 21, these stages. At some point, there's certain points where you do want to be that kid again, or you do want to be artistic, let's say, not an artist, artistic, but you don't act on it because you're like in this now adult world, which is either you're like, or trying to have a blast because now you can do adult things, you're trying to have a good time, you're trying to have a relationship, you're trying to do things. So being artistic kind of takes a back seat, right? You kind of like, okay, and then whoever's going to be a musician or an artist or a scientist or a truck driver or cook, they don't put that into consideration that everything you're doing is artistic. So your mind does not process that what you're doing is artistic. So then when you come across a challenge, for example, someone wants to try to do art, some kind of art, your brain is going to convince you that you're not able to do it because you've lost that imagination or that possibility factor of when you were younger. So what I had to do to be able to execute art like this, I had to break down that programming within myself, go back to that youth, but then apply it in my adult life and execute, because I know that I'm able to do it if I just focus, if I just kind of apply myself. And the reason that I go full force on something like this is because I look at it like it's either sink or swim. You know what I mean? Like if I decided to be an artist and I want to be successful, you know, then I can't play with it. Like I gotta get in on it and learn. Like I paid attention. Like I asked a lot of questions when I meet artists that are like amazing, and then I studied books from artists from like all over the world. When I was in Europe, I was like lost in the museums, bro, castles and like everywhere. I was just like absorbing everything. And I kind of started applying in my mind these kind of, let's say, exercises that you just gotta like zone in on the vision of like, how would they apply it? How would they do it? And just being careful on your self-talk, because when you focus on trying to do something, whatever programming you have running on the side will conquer the thought of being able to do something, because of like, it could be the smallest thing. It could be like, oh, I can't do that because that's only for like talented people, or I can't do that because that's only for people that studied it, or I can't do, like, especially when you say about different artists, right? So certain artists can do this, certain artists can do that. And yes, there is layers and there is levels, of course. And there's like, not everyone is supposed to do it or could do it, but the possibility of pushing the percentage of your ability, even by a small amount, is always there. It's just conquering the thought, you know? Does that make any sense? Like, so the reason that I'm well-rounded is because I just absorbed as much as possible. And whatever I don't know how to do, I'll research it or I'll process it in my mind, and then I'll apply it. And then after once I catch a little bit of momentum in what I tried, then I'm gone, right? Then I'm like going. So having like that fire, let's say passion, when I was like looking at this situation, I was like, I only had so many days. I started at like New Year's or like right after, on the 2nd of January. And I knew how much time I had. And I was like, okay, I'm zoning people out. I'm not focusing on nothing else, because obviously, or else it wasn't gonna get done, right? And then I just went for it. Now, it's not easy for many people to focus. I mean, if they be an artist, to focus on like handling so many type of medium,
Yeah.
because some people take on stuff. They got their business. Some people have a tattoo shop and they got to run that shop. Some people have a art, little side art gig, but they got a regular job, right? And they got life and family and, debt and, bills and stuff. So it's not always that easy. But what I'm saying with this content that I'm putting together is that if you got those 5 minutes to apply those 5 minutes, like straight fire. And that's going to give you, whenever you got those 5 minutes again, whether in a week or tomorrow, those 5 minutes, you're just going to go in there like a beast, because you're not gonna let your mind process too much of the doubt. Like, oh, what did I hear? No, you're gonna like not quit lying to yourself. You already know what you got. So I think it's a mental process, right? So I mean, I don't know that it's not the whole answer, but I think I kind of like gave you an idea.
Yeah, you broke it down. You broke it down because I'm telling you guys, you gotta follow him. Because even when it comes down to him posting video, he does it in an artistic way. Like he just doesn't post the video to post it like a video. Like he'll take the angle and then he'll post it up and then he'll blend it in. Do you notice that you do that, or it's just like something you do like?
So this is what I was. This is why I'm so excited and so driven about this content I'm putting together because the times we're living in right now,
mm-hmm.
with the devices and technologies that we have, okay, the challenges that you obviously got to learn applications and techniques, which I'm doing. I'm like trying to put my mind on how they would do it in a video and a movie and stuff, and all these little niches and little things. But that's part of what I'm referring to, is that if you take an artistic approach in your life, in these things that you're doing, you will discover something about yourself that will elevate you 10 times fold. So because I know I'm responsible for my content and how I want to apply it, because I want to hire people, truthfully. I want to hire people to do so many things. But if I'm not able at the moment, and I got this device in my hand and it's got all, I got to use it. You know what I'm saying? So, this is what I'm trying to say about being that mind state of mind, about being artistic, because many times we'll say things, you got this device in your hand and we'll say it. Of course, it's a challenge, but we'll say it like, oh, I don't know how to do that. I don't, that's too difficult. And like, they're making these devices so simple to use nowadays, where like, what is the reason in that you're not applying it? It's that programming, right? So now when I'm putting content out and I'm putting a video out, I'm trying to come with as much as I can to like showcase that, so I can just get better and better. And then when people do run into my content, they're just like, oh, okay, there's more here. There's more to it, right? And that's one of the reasons, like, obviously the social media, they say content is king, right? Like you gotta get on it because people are watching. Unfortunately, this is distracting the fuck out of our lives. You know what I'm saying? It is taking us, I mean, that's another topic, but if we're on these things all day and night, like your presentation, what you're putting out there is gotta come with it. Like even this little,
Nah, I completely agree, but at the same time, it's like you, right? You being on social media is part of your job, you know what I mean? Indirectly, because that's the way you communicate with customers, and that's how you lure them in.
Right.
So you being on social media is not really because you're being distracted. You're actually using it for you to, improve on what you are. Yeah, it's a job at the end of the day. And being on, like, doing this whole podcast thing, this is the same thing. Like, I have to be on it. I have to reach out to individuals. I have to, like, if I find somebody, I'm like, ooh, I want to know what triggers him or triggers her. So now I have to be on it, and I have to follow up for a while and see, how it goes, what's making them tick, what's like sort of what makes them work. So I have to now analyze their work and what they're doing. And is at the end of the day, it's research. That's all it is. It's research. You can't just go in with a blind eye and be like, oh, hi. And you're just going to be on a show saying, hi. Okay. What you doing is going to be pretty boring. You know what I mean? So you still have to, like, look into it.
I'm pretty sure you improvise enough so it won't get boring, right? You'll get something out of them, because that's what you're getting good at that, right? You're like, okay, if I start losing them, I gotta like trigger a question, I gotta trigger a topic, right? So you said something interesting that made me think right now. That I'm on social media because it's part of my work or it's like my job, right? Okay. Also, part of the content that I'm putting together on being artistic in life is this: if we are being taken down these paths of social media and content and information and everything that you are, because you're presenting yourself on your phone, even though you're just posting, let's say, some birthday parties and some stuff, personal stuff, your whatever, it's not really, you're not a content creator, you're not trying to get followers, you're in there for entertainment purposes, correct? Well, part of the content that I'm putting together is to tap into, to trigger, motivate, or empower people to understand that even though it's not your job or your career, you being on the social media, you have value. So you don't have to pursue it as a business, but you're pretty much your own brand just because you got a handle and a presence on social media. Because it's taking up your time. And in order for people to feel empowered to do more with their life, sometimes we got to approach life more on a business sense that it hasn't been taught to us or given to us through our leaders or through school. I mean, I know the kids now driving this like a business because they know TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. But the adults or people that are not really like paying attention to this as a, let's say, a business, still it'll take a hard time to convince themselves that it's important. But just the fact that you're on there and the information you're putting on there is part of an IP, which is intellectual property, should make you understand that that's value too, because somehow, some way, your content is making that company money. That makes sense?
Indirectly, yeah, indirectly.
Yeah, right. So if we are to elevate in life, just again putting a little more percentage in your mind state of being artistic and seeing what you're doing with your time on social media in a business sense will maybe trigger you to pursue more information on, maybe I could run an e-commerce, or maybe I could like pursue some kind of coaching, or maybe I could help out people in my community, because you're interacting with these devices, right? And if you're not made to believe that is lucrative, or you can monetize it, or you can use benefit to your people, your family, your community, your life, then it's kind of killing your time, which is most of us entertained, right? We're just entertaining ourselves, watching, the little stuff that we like to watch, the little private stuff that we like to look at and all this stuff. But, your time is important. And if you're not giving this information, then where we're going with society, where like jobs are going to get limited, and then you're going to like, what do I do for, because I'm in that situation as well. Like, okay, yeah, I can only do so much, but then what? Where's more income, how and who? And that's where they're taking us, right? They're like limiting things, but now you're like focused. Now you're dependent on the internet, like the Wi-Fi, your device.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
Correct. So
it's big time.
So part of what I want to put out, and I want to share people to put out more as well, is that being a creative with an artistic perspective, that how to be artistic in some kind of way, will help you apply more emphasis in your life to elevate, because it's that programming, bro. It's that programming that makes us believe that the words you're saying to yourself are are concrete. They're put in stone, but they're not. There's ways
Yeah,
for
that
you to be. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
that makes a whole lot of sense. I never thought about it like that. Like you breaking it down like that, like everybody is actually indirectly a creator. And then even like you said, when you post a party, like let's say you Mexican or Spanish, right? In general, any culture you are, when you show that clip of that ceremony, because that's what it is. It's a ceremony. It's a it's a culture,
Yeah.
and you share it out there. You sharing that experience with the rest of the world. So whoever looks at it, they like, oh, so that's how they do it. That's their culture.
You're representing.
Yeah, indirectly. So the way you breaking it down is like, yeah, you actually do kind of spread some type of knowledge. So somebody who never had an idea, all of a sudden, they just experienced that through their phone. So yeah, and yo, until you said it right now, it actually broke down to like, yeah, we do really are creators indirectly, and we are basically a business person walking around nowadays.
So your child, I don't have children, but I can register when I see children, how they move and how they act. And I remember being a child, and everyone can remember being a child because you got more experience about being a child than an adult. You're a child first, right?
Yep.
So your is actually in your youth, even though it's in your memory. So as you're an adult, you're trying to apply what you've been taught to believe is what your responsibility as an adult is, but you know that it doesn't work. It don't fit into your life. It just doesn't work. It's just, even if you get a fat paycheck, at the end you just end up paying things you owe, and you're like, what I do with it? And it's a cycle. Every week, every month, you're doing the same thing. But if we tap into the creativity of your youth, and you process that and you break down the programming and still keep your adult responsibility sense, because we're still not responsible either anyway, right? But if you use some of that creativity of your youth, of your inner child, that is what's gonna like help you possibly lead a better life. And it's going to ease up possibly the anxieties and the stress and the depression and the challenges that your mind has based on this adult world programming. Because you're forgetting you were a child. You're forgetting how good it felt to just sing and to laugh and dance and jump around and play, right? Because adults don't do that unless we inebriate it. We're like, we're like blazing it, or we're like on like a party, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
like, but just the mental application of the youth, and then tapping into what your kids are doing or other kids are doing, or what the youth is doing, doesn't mean you have to go do it. You register what they're doing and you adapt a little bit of your thought process to what's going on, it'll lighten up the pressure you're on. And you will be able to share more with your family as through your social media, because only you can explain your life and your memories about your family. And time is passing, and by the time we're 50, 60, 70, we already got disease, or we just can't talk the same. We can remember things the same. So like time, a lot of stuff's getting lost.
Yeah.
So that moment that you have now with your device and the content that you're uploading, and the funny stuff that you see, and the entertainment stuff, or the seriousness of, like, let's say, sometimes people are in tragedies or life, someone passes away and stuff like that. Just that triggers and taps into your memories of, like, oh, that was my deal, that was my mother, my father. Oh, I remember we did this, we did that. And then you want to upload photos, and then you want to, like, put content in, but you know that you're only limited on your social medias. Then that triggers you to think, like, oh, is it possible for me to buy a domain and upload it in my own website? Yes, it's possible. And then your kid's going to have something their kids are gonna have something to one day go look at some kind of domain that has your family on there, and they're gonna see pictures and videos of something from 50 years ago, 100 years ago, of your grandparents that passed away, and you leave it in the legacy to them, and that's the gold. And that's the content, the power you have with this device.
Damn,
And
that's deep.
It goes back to that creativity. It goes back to that artistic thought process. So my drive is to show that there's everything. So that's why I go hard with the art, with the paintings, with the drawing, with the sketches, with the content, to trigger that into people's mind. Because, you know, the adults are watching, they're like, you know, they are, you know, mesmerized, or like they're impressed. But I'm going at it with another intent. You know what I mean? I'm like sliding up in there, like you know, going
You're
in there
like swimwear.
Yeah, subliminally.
So growing up, were you always into art, or did it develop as you got older?
So it's funny stories behind that. I was drawing in school.
Mm-hmm.
And being distracted, and just trying to have a blast in school. And I was doing okay in certain, like, I want to say reading and reading and writing was like my main interest. Everything else was blurred out. Math, horrible. Like all the other stuff was horrible at it. And then when my mom was getting the report card, so she would go in the teacher conference, I was not drawing nothing impressive either. No, they weren't like saying like, oh, we see him like being artistic. I think he's gonna be great. They just told her like, look, he's good at this and this, and he's like failing at this, and he talks too much. So my mom was like, you know, a real firm and stern woman, you know, and I'm the youngest. So she had me like in her elder years, like, you know, so even though I was like spoiled with love, not with money or like stuff like that, because we, you know, we're broke, but with energy and attention. But at the same time, she was at her wisest, but she was also like, damn, I got the strict, you know. So she was like, you ain't drawing no more, you ain't sketching, or you ain't doing no doodling, like, cause you just messing up. You know what I mean? So I was like, damn, like I didn't think it was nothing wrong. I was like in class doodling and drawing. I was drawing like I was drawing Pac-Man. I was drawing Donkey Kong. I was drawing like trying to draw G.I. Joe stuff, like trying to draw, you know, just square stuff, and talking. And you know, the teachers were just like, no, he's not paying attention to his academics. He's not learning. So she kind of like made me take a pause on it, you know, because I was like, okay, I gotta focus on my class, you know, because you know, kids, you're like, your parents say something that, you know, and I didn't get better in classes, but like at least I wasn't getting called out for being distracted. And then, you know, you take art classes, 7th grade, 8th grade, or whatever, graphic design, graphic arts, graphic stuff like that. But I never went back into it. And then I started roaming around LA, the streets, you know. So I started doing like little graffiti, spray can stuff, and I started running around with the boys on the block, and you know, doing all the stuff you're not supposed to. So you know, I was like doing things in an artistic way, but not really pushing art. Like I would see art, airbrushing, and you know, see the lowriders with the like murals and all that, and I would see it. And I know something would call me to it, but because I was already told not to be doing it because it was distracting me, I didn't like pursue it till later. I think I was 19, 20, 21. I started kind of like playing around with it. And then I was in certain situations where I was like, okay, I got to make decisions. I got to like, okay, what am I going to do? You know, I was still getting the jobs and the hustling or whatever, but I started getting into the art. And then after that, I was like, whoa, like I gotta pursue this. Like I have to, like I could sense it in me. I could feel it in me. And yeah, like I just started going at it, started pursuing it, started being interested in more in my 20s, like early 20s, 23s, 24s, you know, around that time. And I was not pursuing it like professionally, but I was
Yeah.
doing more into it. Yeah.
That's dope though. So you was tagging up and stuff?
Yeah, I was like doing the graffitis and the throw ups. And then I started like writing, doing the spray canning before, like, you know, for the hood and street, whatever.
Yeah.
It was, you know, a whole other thing. But I wasn't doing nothing artistic. I wasn't doing murals.
All right.
I wasn't doing sick ass like graffiti pieces. Because I remember when I was watching uh Beat Street and breakdancing, you know, those movies from New York.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, when I seen those movies, I was like, oh man, they're doing art on the trains. And then I got a hold of this one book, Subway Art. Oh man, like, I don't know if my homie stole the book or how we got the book. I don't know, whatever. Like, I had to hide from my mom because it was a
Yeah.
no. Book was like, you know, in the 80s, like, you know, that's a bad boy. Like, that's a bad kid. Like, you're doing bad stuff. So, but I was looking in and I was drawing on paper, but I was like, wow, these dudes are doing it on trains. Like, that was just, whew.
They still doing
Like,
it now, bro. It's coming back hard though. Hard. Hard. When I say hard, they be like throwing up a whole train. Like the whole train would get all 8 cars would get bombed.
like the old days, like the old school stuff.
It's ridiculous. And then the only thing that sucks is like, let's say they probably take about 3 hours to do it, right? By the time it comes Monday in the morning, that's it. It's getting washed. And then the chemicals they use, it just
Yeah.
goes,
Yeah.
it just dissolves everything. It's like crazy. It's like you like, oh, it's gonna hit up, it's gonna get, yeah, it might get the ride all the way to the yard and get cleaned up. But after that, once they hit it with the spray and they wash
Done.
it down, all that is gone. And people don't understand those cans ain't cheap either. This nowadays, they not cheap because when you see those bright colors and stuff and the mixing and the lining, and then you got to take into play the tips. Because back in the day when you were growing up, there was no tips. The tips was yourself because you would take a nail and then you would burn it, heat it up, and then you would burn the tip so you could get a bigger one. And depending on how you want it, or a needle, or you would put plaster and then make a
Oh,
hole
wow.
on it,
Oh, you
and then you
dropping
have
game? I didn't do all that.
yeah. Now the homies I used to roll with, they used to tag up and they used to put me on to it. It's like, oh, this is what we got to do, bro. It's like the fat line and stuff. We don't got no tips, and if you did, that means you had money. But if not, you just had to do it your way.
Wow. Yeah, but
Yeah,
see,
man.
even though they're like buffing it out, just the thrill of doing it is, I think that's what it is. Like, they know that's gonna get cleaned up, you know. But just that they go do it. I think that's the game. That's
That's the thrill.
that's it. Like, and you know, they're recording it, they getting the content
Yeah.
now, you know. So I think that's it. Like, they know it's gonna get cleaned up. They know
I,
that, right?
I'll send you the page afterwards. There's a page that I've been trying to get those guys on here, bro, but I'm pretty sure they're not gonna come on because they're gonna incriminate themselves.
What, have them wear
The ski mask, like Vice. You know how when Vice does interviews, I'm like, yo, bro, just put on the thing. You don't gotta show me your name, anything. Just be audio, and then
correct.
if you want, put one of those voice, and then we'll change up your voice and everything. Cause yo, I just want to know how the hell you do it. Like, yo, bro, like how fast are you guys going?
Oh my god, that'd be cool, bro.
Tell me about it. It is crazy. Yeah. I'm gonna keep trying until they say yeah, because it's just mind-boggling, bro. And it's one of those things it's like you. the way your brain works, bro, is ridiculous. The way you broke everything down so far of how you got into so many areas, and you could truly say you're an artist in different fields. Because you even have your, that's another one. You have product like the hat, the LA hat, and then you have Luna Arts. And then you have your little logo on that too. And that's a package that you got going on.
So so now you tapped into something that we're gonna get into. I'm not gonna go as deep, but we're gonna tap into some, like, going mid-ocean, right? We're going where the octopus are at.
That's
So,
deep.
so something that I discovered while I was traveling in Europe, and I share this with a lot of people, and sometimes it's not accepted well because of our programming, or it's just this thought process that we have of Europe, right? You know, Europe has a different picture painted in our colonial ancestral times. You know what I mean? You know, they've done some stuff, right? But I bypassed that. When I was traveling, I came across, I think it was on the path that I was on. So part of my purpose is to share this, right? I believe it's part of my purpose, right? So while I was traveling, and learning, I was not only just doing tattooing or art, I was tapping into esoteric knowledge. I was researching. I was trying to learn as much as I could. I was overwhelmed. And I know I was overdoing it too, because sometimes, like, I would break down, my body couldn't make it because I was like, dude, you're doing too much. You're trying to go this, go there. I was just trying to, like, eat everything up because I had never been out of the United States. I've been to Mexico with my mom a couple of times. I never traveled in the United States. So going out there, I was like, man, I'm just going to, like, risk it and just travel. So I ended up coming across some very important information and knowledge, and it's called esoteric knowledge, because there's esoteric and there's exoteric. So the exoteric is what's out into the public eye, what you see out in advertisement, what you see out as far as, like, streets, cars, clothing. That's exoteric, right? That's just X is out. Esoteric is the stuff that's there in front of you, but you don't know why it's there. Or there's something that you can't see, but you can feel. For example, oxygen. We all believe that there's oxygen, but we can't see it. But oxygen is part of one of the life forces, right? Who knows what it is, where it comes from, but it's there, right? So when I tapped into, learn about this stuff, I came across information, knowledge about the glands in your brain. And because I was like asking questions when I was out there. I was asking, people, French people, German people, English people, funny questions, and they were kind of like tripping out on me. And they were like, like, oh, this is dude from LA bugging out. But it was funny because but I was like, can you guys tell me the truth about, is it truth about all this fairy tales that we grew up on in the United States? I was like I want to know. Like, we grew up on Disneyland shit. We grew up on fairy tales. We grew up on Smurfs. We grew up on all these, I said, how much truth is in that? And they kind of were like, some of them knew answers, but some of them were like us too. They're like, we're watching the same shit. What are you talking about? And answer that. We're hoping you tell us, right? So, but the people that were able to answer certain things to me led me to other people, that led me to other information and knowledge, and led me to books and content and videos of why things are there. in a way where they're giving you a message, not the whole truth, but it's part truth, but it's not. And then I came across the information about the glands in your brain. And then I came across the pineal gland, bro. Or like after that, I was like I don't know what I've been living my whole life in, in LA. If I came here and I came across this information, which should be known to everyone, but the ancients knew about it. Our ancestors knew about it. Other people's ancestors knew about it. But somewhere, somehow, it got erased. I don't know how far back. I don't know. And I can't assume, but let's call it 100 years. Let's just say 100 years. So from 100 years to now, they've erased a lot of stuff, but we don't know what happened prior. So when I came across this information about the glands in your brain and how to tap into higher energies and learning, and there's certain diets, there's certain exercises, and certain medicines that you can take that activate these glands, man, like I couldn't share this with enough people, but I sounded like a lunatic, bro.
I can imagine.
It wasn't squaring in no one's mind, bro. I was just like hitting them. And that is where I'm going with that certain things inside you, inside the way you think, if they get unlocked with certain things that you can do, it'll open up the secret powers of your capabilities. And one of them was the pineal gland and the chemicals and the reactions and the blood flow and everything that flows in there that are inside the center of your brain. And when I was coming across this stuff is encoded in a lot of the symbolism all over the world and everything we have. One of the main examples we can say that is right in front of us, that we don't know how it works, is your device, your phone, correct?
Yeah.
Where's the wire? Like, where's the wire? Like, other stuff has a wire, right? Your TV is connected to electricity and it has an antenna. Like, your radio is connected to somewhere, right? But where's it getting the signal from? How is this device working without no wire? So then if you put that to your body, how does your body work if there's no wire? How is there a life force inside you functioning when there's no wire? Where are you getting the source from? Where was making your body work?
Yeah.
So when I came across this information and then I applied it to discover more about my capabilities in art, oh my God, it was like finding gold, bro. And that's gold. That's like every myth you ever heard about in all these cultures, and like name something in an ancient culture that you heard about, something secret, something that they haven't found yet, or you heard about in a movie, in a myth, in a story.
Like the Loch Ness
Monster. Okay. What they're saying with the Loch Ness monsters, that from my understanding, is that there is life force in the waters that we don't have an idea what's in there, whether you can see it visibly or invisibly, like with your eyes or without your eyes. There's energy there, right? Name another one, like an object.
An object?
An object, like in a movie, in a myth, in a story. Something fun, something artistic, something you like a Bible story, something, an object that's missing or they can't find, or
let's just go with the hammer of Thor.
Okay. If you pay attention to what they're saying, is that there's power in that hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? And only this one individual is the one that can lift it and use it. Everyone else cannot, right?
Correct.
Right? So what they're telling you is that within you, you're the only one that can unlock the power for you to lift that hammer, because that hammer is the secret of the knowledge you have in your mind. You're the only one that can lift that hammer. Make sense?
Yeah. So indirectly, every story kind of indirectly corresponds to each individual human and interpret to yourself as needed.
Exactly. So when I came across this, I was like, how do I tell people and convince them that this is that secret that we're missing to elevate yourself? Now, if you want me to answer what you asked earlier, that how do I apply myself into all this different style of art or the way I approach things, is because I discovered these glands and I was able to come across some shamans and we took some medicine.
Mm. Hey, exactly where I was going to. Exactly. And you just answered it right there. I'm like, have you gone and taken the medicine to be more aware and to know what's really out there? And then once you experience it, when you come back, you see the world in a different place. And then you realize that this whole time you've been stressing out life, it's not worth it. There's more to life than just worrying about bills and everything else. It's more about just being united with one. And we're all humans at the end of the day. We're no longer people. We're just freaking humans, a human race. We're a Homo sapien with 2 feet, a torso, ligaments, organs, a brain, and we're all the same inside out.
But
That's
see,
it.
that's how we think we are because we're believing that we exist in this three-dimensional world. So the description you just made of your body, which is the legs and ligaments and all that stuff, right? That's from what we understand from the 3D perspective. But we really don't even know the reality of if we are in this form. It's only us that can see ourselves in this form. There could be animals looking at us that they share the same kind of characteristics that we do, but they might not see us the way we think they see us or we see them.
And then sometimes when you come off the trip, you would see a dolphin or orca, and it's like, yo, are we the same person? We just seeing each other differently. That's wild, right? When you think about it, because once you come back, sometimes you're like, yo, that orca, or you look at other animals that you know are smart, and you're like, are we all just one? And we just haven't come to that point where we're able to communicate with each other. Like a movie, like when you hear animals talk, you're like, yo, is the animal really talking to me right now? But I'm not able to understand.
Yeah, the animals are waiting for us to kind of wake up. Does that make sense? Like the animals are like interacting with us, but they're kind of like, okay, at what time you guys gonna catch up? When do you guys feel like catching up? Or you guys are way too far? Like y'all need to come back. Does that make sense? You know? So
Yeah.
so when I came across these experiences and then I applied them into the art, that's what gave me that extra edge, and that's what gives me that that extra exercise of applying myself to what I'm doing. Now I can't go straight on and present that to people, to do XYZ and then go jump and find the local shaman and go do and take this and take that. Like, no, I'm not presenting it no way, no how in that form. Because as adults, not that I know more than someone else, but if I know certain knowledge and information, if I present it to someone and they're willing to learn or to take certain steps, then it's my purpose to guide them a little bit. And then if they come across something that's going to tell them to then take it to the next level or to some other phase in their life, they're going to come across that and they're going to probably decide, but the influence or the purpose or the connection is sort of like me coming across them and then sharing it with them. But again, I'm not promoting it. I'm not telling people, oh man, go like go
Nah,
Google it.
nah, completely. I understand where you're coming from though, because there is people out there that do push it. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, go try this.
You can be impulsive and say, oh my God, like if he said, like, I'm not gonna go travel 17,000 count, I'm not gonna go a bunch of countries. I might as well just go directly to what it is because I need it now. Right? We can't get impulsive like that. We are driven in that way sometimes. You just go Google it, go, hey, somebody knows a tia that does the thing with the so and so, and let me go and just go. But but even then, if you do know these people, pace yourself and then understand and do more research and say, okay, is that for me? Should I go down that road? Because from the content that I came across, because I read some heavy literature traveling, right? And there's this book called The Secret Doctrine from Madame Blavatsky. I think she was like Russian something, but she looked like not like a Russian, like a white Russian. She looked like a Mongolian type, but with colored eyes. Mm-hmm. And she was traveling around Europe, and then she was in England for quite a long time, and she put some content together with some other people. We won't mention all those societies, but when I came across these books, and I came across this one book, and I was reading this information, then turned into knowledge, there was a lot of warning that is being taught to the adepts that be very careful when you come across this information, because once you step through the threshold, there's no coming back. There's not like something you could turn on and off. Like once you step in, like you're gonna lose some people, which is the case in most people that are pursuing, let's say, success, like an athlete or a movie star or a CEO, or someone's trying to do something with their business, or trying to do something with their education, or trying to do something with their life. You're not gonna be able to take everybody. You're gonna lose some people. They might be there when you get back, or they might be, they might go along with you for certain, but everyone's got their own voyage, their own trip. But if you do take it to these other layers or these other levels, you must understand that be prepared if you're going to go in. It might not be for you, or you could, like just dabble across the information and let that be part of it. But if you're going in, this, like it's the Matrix. Like, let's look at that movie. The whole choice of the pills. That's exactly what that is.
Nah, that is completely true.
That's it. Like you do, once you do this, and for fun, let's stop on it for fun. They are making us go through this. Now, I don't know who they is, but I know there's a they. They are making us go through this right now with the technology, bro. They're making us take the red pill. Like there's no reversal right now. They're taking us down that road. Does that make sense? Like the technology, the virtual reality, the AI, the cryptocurrency. Like we're not going back.
Like, nah, we're going forward.
That train departed.
Yo, it is insane when you really think about it. And yeah, we're all taking the pill because indirectly we're all ending up in this digital universe. And it's crazy, right? Because when you talk about it, right? When we're younger, right? Some of us do go on this trip, right? And as an adult, I strongly believe you should do it the right way. Because as a child, or when we're young, we're youth, we don't have a lot of distractions. We don't have stress. We don't have depression. As we get older and we do choose to do these things, I think sometimes you do need a guide. You need a guide. And it's not, like you said, not to promote it at all. At the end of the day, it's your choice. Don't be peer pressure when people speak about this. Because if you notice lately, there's big talks about this. You know what I mean? Huge talks. Because there's so many people who talk about their experience. And then you get other people who want to follow in, but you don't understand. As an adult, you could actually have a bad trip and you could come back not yourself. And that's what people don't understand. Like, if you have a bad trip, you cannot come back. Like, sometimes you'll end up wherever you at, you're gonna end up and you're gonna be like, what happened? It's like you wasn't prepared. Your mindset is not the same as when you was a teen. You could be like, oh, I did it when I was younger. Yeah, you were younger. You're an adult now. You have family, you have rent, you have bills, you have a lot more in your plate. Your plate is full. And when you were young, you didn't have nothing.
But do you know why? I'm gonna share a little bit
Yeah.
of in a form of question. Do you know why sometimes people have these bad trips? And it's not just in that situation. It could be the abuse of alcohol. It could be the abuse of medication. It could be the abuse of anything, right? Can send you on a bad trip. But do you know why they don't come back, or why they're not able to fit back into where they were?
From my understanding, right? From what I've seen and people speak about, you go in with a cloudy mind. You don't clear yourself. You don't clear your mind from everything before you go in. You just like boom, just take it, and you just go in with what you currently are doing in life. You going in there with your problems, and if you're not, you're going in with there with your trauma, and if you're not strong enough to face your trauma, you're gonna get stuck.
Bad.
That's what it is. It's a trauma.
Right. So the reason that the trauma then multiplies is because, going back to my approach, the artistic approach, you're forgetting that you're supposed to go in there, or anything you're doing, like meditation, or even go out to have a blast with some friends and go on a little night voyage. You're not supposed to abuse the party night. You're supposed to only use the night to take a few of these spirits and these liquids for a ritual of the night. But you got to have that purpose, not just get belligerent and lose it. But the reason that sometimes we have these traumas and we're not able to coexist with what's going on back in society, and people don't understand you, and now you're having problems with relationships, you're having problems with your family, people don't understand you, is because what we don't understand is that we've been put in a box. And when you go too far into whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's that medicine or whether it's the liquids or the habituates or the drugs, whatever it is that you're taking, that chemicals that is not natural to your body, is because then that this construct doesn't fit. You don't fit in this box. By the box, I mean the room you're in, the room I'm in, it's a box. That box would be connected to other apartments in a bigger box. It's connected to a bigger building, which is a box. You get into your car, that's a box. You go to work, that's a box. So everything in this society, on the streets, everywhere you're going and you're applying yourself and your abilities and your job, it's all a construct of corners that are boxed you in, that has nothing to do with nature, because in nature there is no boxes. Nature, mountains, trees, water, all that is fluid. It's like flowing in so many different shapes. None of it is in a straight containment. So your energy cannot be what is considered contained. That's the whole thing about the container. That's the entertainment. It's a containment of you entering it in a containment, right? In a box. Then when you take these things or you do meditation or you exercise that you know you're feeling elated, like higher than you would normally, that you don't know that you don't fit in that box. And that's where like people lose it. Let's say, oh, se quedó arriba, or tan loquitos, or the homeless, or like the druggies. The reason is because they know they can no longer fit in that box system that we're all in. The animals see it the same way. They're looking at us, they spend time with us, but they looking at us like, dang, y'all for real? Y'all for real live in all these boxes? Like when there's so much land, the earth is vast, bro. The earth is vast.
Yo,
Does
it's
that make sense?
crazy. Yeah, because now you're bringing up Minecraft. Look at that. That's boxes, boxes on boxes on boxes. And then you see, look at that. We came back right around to digital format. Some people have take Minecraft into reality, which is crazy. And you look at how we came back completely around. You're talking about digital, right? And then you came about boxes, and that links in with another game that's about boxes. Wow, man. That's deep though. That's real deep.
So when I was thinking more on the artistic side of things, as I was learning about art and how to apply myself into the art, that's when the shape started like coming into my head. I was like we're not taking an artistic approach in our lives on the concept. We're supposed to think artistic every day. So the separation between who's an artist and who is not is only in the mind, because the artist is a title, but to be artistic, that's in everybody. And that should be a major responsibility to apply yourself to be artistic. Not you're gonna become an artist, like you're like a painter or a drawer or a tattooer or all this stuff, like to be artistic. And if this was put out there in different contexts and being taught to the kids that's you gotta be like that your whole life, which kids, they rebel for that reason. Those kids and adults do not get along. There's a big separation. And then there's the elderly, right? So the kids and the elderly, they're more connected than the whole working class, working ages, which is the adult world. But the adult world is the one making a shit show, because they're just fuck ups. We just out here doing bullshit. But the kids don't get along with adults at all. Now, don't get that twisted. They're not your friends. Even your children, they are not your people, because they perceive you as such a distant person. Even if you're like trying to be his best friend and you're trying to like play all his games and be everything, in a kid's mind, in other words, he's kind of just playing you. Like, okay, let me just entertain this guy because this is the guy that feeds me, or this is the lady that buys me stuff. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Why? Because the adult's not being artistic. You playing artistic, like okay, let me play with my kids because I want to just share with them. Meanwhile, we go buy them a video game, we go to the park or whatever. But the kid can read you and knows that you ain't doing it 100%. Like, he's even telling you how to do it. Like, no, like, don't do it like that.
Do it like this. It's true. They do.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we're not being artistic.
And they look at the world a way different perspective than we do. It's the innocence, you know what I mean? It's the innocence that we lose.
Kids are royalty. And once they learn that, they're gonna manipulate you forwards and backwards because they know they got that power. They know they're royal. Does that make any sense? Like they know it.
Yeah.
Because like obviously there's different classes or different situations because there's kids that don't have, let's say, benefits or different life and different around the world. There's different type of children because some are in a very extreme conditions or situations, right? But for the most part, all the children that are in these societies, modern societies, they know that they are royalty. And you could discipline them, beat them, like take away their stuff. They like obviously there's some that they go through trauma. They shouldn't go through trauma, but they do. But for the most part, they know they own time. They know that they're like, okay, it's a matter of time. I'm just gonna like play your game until I grow up and then I'm gone.
That's mind-boggling, bro. Just dropped it. Just dropped the mic right there like that. Boop.
Does that make sense though?
It makes completely sense because it's true. It's like, yeah, it's just time. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna play your game, but when I hit age, that's it. It's time to move out. We all did it. You know what I mean? Even us indirectly as kids and stuff, we all play the same game. And then you see, you just think about it, right? Like it'll hit you, your subconscious right now. So whoever's listening is gonna hit your subconscious, like, yo, what he's speaking is the truth. Like, yes, we might have got disciplined. Yeah, we might have been told to do not to do this, not to do that. But when it came time to get out the nest, we left the nest and we did our own thing. Just going back to the whole thing, then we forget that we left the nest to be ourselves, right? And we lose that connection to being a child.
And then it goes full circle
Again,
when you come back. If you're smart enough and wise enough to take care of your elders, right? Because at some point they're gonna be gone. But once you take care of your elder, you then realize that the elderly person went back to being a kid.
yeah, because now they're gonna manipulate you because they need you to take care of them.
Or
depending on culture.
Or they start losing their faculties where like they cannot process things the same. They cannot go to the restroom the same. They cannot remember who you are really sometimes, Parkinson's, dementia, cancers, all these other situations that happen to the human body because of, the experience, the trauma or the diet or, XYZ, the outside elements, right? Or outside situations, right? But then you care for them and then you just see them like a kid. They're like, oh, damn, like I was their kid. Now, when I go back to like see them, now they're my kid. And you gotta, if you want, it's very difficult. But I share this because I was able to take care of my mother in the last years of her life, full on extreme, because I knew that she was going to eternal life and I was not going to have her anymore. So I knew I had to full on just have her every day as much as I could. Like forget everything, what I got going and who I got going and nothing. Like I had to just, and obviously not everyone can do this because, people have families and children and responsibilities and jobs and things like that. So, but I was in a very privileged position that I didn't have that. So using, again, the artistic side of my deprogramming with a little bit of the program, because you still got to keep the program, right? You got to function in society. I started like taking full on care for her, but then remembering how it is to be a kid, I started like gauging her, how she was being a kid and how she was so dependent on me. And then I started doing things to help ease her pain, and it helped a lot because she then started having less experiences of mental stress, like dementia hit her, so she was getting affected by dementia. But me being artistic, I started researching how I was gonna attempt to slow that down. And through learning different formulas and different diets, I was able to slow down her dementia to the point where she started recognizing me. She started talking. She started singing again. She started being like a part of herself. And that was me tapping into the artistic side of my mind. With the research and responsibility, of course, but I was seeing her like her energy of like, okay, if she's going through this dementia situation and all these challenges, and she can't walk and she can't this, and she's got lung problems, and her back is arched and her bones and all these situations. I got to bathe, I got to clothe her, I got to comb her, I got to feed her. She had G-tube in her stomach. She was intubated before. All these situations, I'm like, there's got to be something to slow some of this stuff down. And I started doing research, and for sure I tapped into so much that helped. And then I started seeing a difference in her. And I was like, oh my God, we don't have a clue of how to take care of our elders. We don't even know how to take care of ourselves, but we don't have a clue how to take care of our elders. So we rely on the establishments to take care of them, right? But
yeah,
they're going through some stuff because they are now returning to being a child, but without being able to have the bodily function. But their mind is still in there. But now it's going into that kid phase. So imagine a kid in an old body that can't move and then just stuck somewhere. It's like when you were a kid, when you couldn't get out the house and go run around because your parents said no.
It makes you stagnant.
That's the artistic thought process that I keep referring back to talk about. Get me? Like we as an adult that work, that those years that you're an adult and you're in that work stage, you missing out on both ends. Because you're not like, it's not, I'm not gonna say you're not meant to know, but you just don't know. Right? Like,
yeah, sometimes we just got to look it up like you did and try to do our own research and see what could, at the end of the day, is like trial and error. You know what I mean? If you don't try it, you will never know. And luckily you tried it and it worked. You know what I mean? That really helped out a lot, which is a great thing. You know what I mean? And that's all there, especially now. We all live in the digital age. It's just a search away. And there's so many remedies out there too that we have lost. It's like just some of the teas, right? Like with my folks, right? Like when they bring honey from Mexico, or they have yerba buena or claves. During the whole thing with COVID and stuff, we were going through these teas and these like little mixing of these herbs together and stuff to clear out your lungs. Hey, it could have been that, or it could have been something else. It was just our body fighting it. But who knows? At the end of the day, if we would have never tried it, who knows what would have happened?
so with this content that we're talking about, my main emphasis is the opportunity to share where people can make their own, connect the dots, and things will make sense to them in a way where they're like, oh, I do have to apply certain things in a certain way where I've been told that I wasn't supposed to, because I'm not supposed to be childish or childlike. But wait a minute. What happens when motherfuckers get drunk? Or they all high and they act silly? What happens?
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah,
kid.
like a kid. We act like a damn kid and shit, grown ass kid, because
right?
we lose our sense.
What if you could do that sober? Fine tune it, right? Like fine tune it and apply the art, the artistic side of things into your life. You know what I'm saying? And then drive more of that. And yeah, go to work, go do what you got, go take care of these responsibilities and things that we gotta like we're obligated to do. But if you're applying this artistic, like fine-tuning artistic, sprinkling that artistic element into every little thing as you go, a little more, a little more, a little more, it should alleviate a lot of this nonsense going on in our head. You know what I'm saying? Like all that mental process that we're the ones just rewinding it and playbacking it and like trying another scenario, some shit that happened in
Years ago. We're trying to replay those issues again and again and again, which we should not. We should just hit stop and delete that shit and then restart. But it's hard, you know what I mean?
Well, right now that you are we're on this podcast, right? What do you think artistically, what do you think we should tap on right now for something that can help people right now with something artistic? What do you think about? What you have something in mind?
Me in general, it will be just basically just touching whatever you've been dying to do. Let's say you like making hats and stuff or knitting. Just go in, make your knits, post it up, see who buys it, see who don't. If you have a way that you look at life differently, go online, express yourself, let people know your point of view. Because at the end of the day, there might be somebody else who has the same point of view you do. Or have a discussion with another person who has a different point of view and try to come with common grounds. So that person who had a different view and you had a different view, now you both have a common ground and you don't have to be arguing all the time, because that's what's currently going on. That's a big factor right now in our society with us in the US. It's two different groups going at it because they don't want to play common ground. It's just like, all right, let's just fight, 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 fight. Which at the end of the day, there is a common ground, you know? There's no need to be fighting every single day, and it's pointless. It's the equivalent of that milk crate challenge, you know? People going up these damn crates. What's the point? There's no point. That's the whole thing.
So the people that are like that follow you and check you out, do they ever see the content and then ask you questions like, hey, what did he mean by that? Or remember you guys were talking, because I seen you had some people that like, I don't know if they craft beer or they beer taste, or is it something you guys just do, like drink beer, taste beers?
Yeah. So yeah, we go and drink beer and stuff, and then we review it. We give a little history, we do some news, and then depending on the guests, we talk about a little bit about them or whatever they want to talk about, whatever comes into, into the conversation. So you're probably talking about the one we just had, the last one, right? About paranormal stuff.
No, I didn't catch that. I'll go in, I'll catch light stuff, and then I'll divert.
Yeah.
But do the people that follow you, do they ask you about topics?
Well, indirectly, like we'll have like votes, or I'll have people send, like at the end of the show, be like, look, you can reach me out at me or the co-host if you want to ask us anything, or you want us to bring up a topic, a certain beer, or anything of that source. Most of the time, when it comes down to that, is my co-host. And why Brewer, he's the one who gets all the questions. He's the one who has that energy that I guess he gives out, that people want to reach out more to him than on my side. You get me? So he's the one who has the energy. Like when it comes down to conversation and reaching out, something about him, people are intrigued to reach out to him. Even though I'm like, yo, you could reach me out too, but it's something about him, his energy that he gives out. And I'm like, yo, bro, they don't really reach out to me. And it's
Like
crazy,
style.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because my family listens to the show, right? So we
Yeah.
had a party the other day, and then they asking me questions. I'm like, bro, you could hit me up. We have a whole chat. It's a whole family chat. I'm like, if you want to ask me something, just ask me. He's like, oh, I'm like, he's like, oh, where you get this, where you get that? And I'm like, yo, you can reach out. We are on the text. You have my number. And he's like, oh yeah, but I'm like, but what? I'm like, I'm a text away, and we're family. It's not like you don't know me. He's like, oh yeah, yeah. He's like, but yeah, let me know when you want me to come into the show. I'm like, yeah. I didn't even know you listened to the show. Like, if we didn't have this family gathering, I would have never known that you want to come on the show. You listen, and we all have we have each other's number, but it's just hilarious when he told me that. I'm like, all right, cool, bro. So we just stay in touch, and after that, we've been keeping in touch. I'm trying to see when they are able to come on and stuff due to scheduling and stuff. It kind of messes up our hours.
Okay. Do you know why? Do you know why they don't reach out?
Nope.
Because the child in them wants to. They're like intrigued and they're interested in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But the adult has convinced that part of their mind that they don't have the confidence because they might be embarrassed that might be perceived as either ignorant or they don't have courage, or they just don't like interact, like they're not gonna ask you, right? Because somewhere along the line their child energy got like shut down, like it got taken away, right? Wow. So you, as the force that they're attracted to, and even though people like reaching out to the other guy, your co-host,
Yeah.
right, is because he has a lighter, approachable energy that they might feel intimidated by you without having to tell you. But just that you have that force is what's making that function, right? If you continue to put out content that your family watches or other people are watching, it could be a suggestion to fine tune just a tiny bit of information that makes them feel confident. It's like a Jedi mind trick that you're gonna make them do something to do more research on, or to contact you, or to somehow make it where you're wise enough to not bring that up to them and say, bro, but you could reach me, but you could call me, but because then that pulls away the person of like, because you just brought it up, and he was trying to avoid that. That makes sense? Like
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
like a kid, I was like a bit of a shy kid, so I didn't have the time kids had, and they were like outgoing and like going up to the teacher, or like playing around and doing things. I did play, but I was kind of like more on the reserve. Sometimes we pulled back reserve, and like we still have that. Some people are like that, and that's my point. Like they can go for 20 years, 30 years, and not act on things that could possibly change their life, because the mental, like that cube, that square, the mind has been put into a square. Like they're like approaching you, they're trying to get more out of you, but without them seen as vulnerable, or you know what I'm saying, like just because they probably see you like you're doing something, and they just see you like up there, like, oh yeah, like damn, that's cool, but how do you do that? And as a teacher, or as someone that has, let's say, a purpose, if you minus how they're gonna feel, and then just be like, bypass it like a smart teacher would, and be like, oh, I gotta think like a child and say, oh man, that was cool. Let me give you a link. Or as a matter of fact, I'm gonna make another podcast. Make sure you follow, and I'm gonna talk about that. You know, or you give them a little assignment and be like, you know what? Let's go look it up. What do you think? We should look it up. We want to do that? Let's go look it up. And then they're like, oh, no. But I was just saying, because you know how we always pull back. Right? Like, we'll pull back. Nah. No, you do your thing. I was just kind of like this, you know. And you're like, no, you're interested. You want to know. Because whatever this person was, I don't know how old they are, who are they? They know that that time has been passing, bro. Time has been passing, and they're like, damn, when do I ask? When do I like say? And this kind of thought process is that meditation or that confidence builder of being artistic, to be able to approach or search or speak up on these certain things, even though as small as they may seem, they're important because there's more to it. There's a whole lot more behind that this person might want to research. And this is part of the content where you can start applying certain other factors into your podcast, you know, or like start sharing content, email, forum, like, you know, throwing information here and there. And so then people go, oh, okay, oh, wow. And then, or hire some people, be like, hey, I need you to send these emails, or I need you to send this content, I need you to do this research. The reason that I asked you this is because if we can do something whenever you think, maybe once a month or every 2 weeks or something, I could get on here and I could put on like some art or a blank paper or something, and then people beforehand know, and then they're like, hey, ask away, like techniques, or you want to learn something from him, or you want to, like, you know, just see what comes out of it. So it's kind of like an educational. Does that make sense? Like,
It completely makes sense. It's like when you do your lives. That's how you even ask why you doing it. You know what I mean? And I always, you know, throw a little comment here and there. And you do like, hey, if you have any questions, just ask and stuff. Like when you was making the ceviche that day, and you was asking people, yo, how you do yours and stuff. If you know, if you want, send me your recipe, and then I'll try to do it.
So you were helping me a lot by interacting, because there was people on there that I know. They're my clients, or they're my homies or friends or whatever, and they're just looking, and I'll keep telling them, like, hey, ask me a question. You know what I'm trying to say?
And yeah, you see the number of people who are watching you, but it'll be like no interaction. It's like you just see it, and it'll be like, all right, cool.
I get it, like, cool, but I'm not telling you. So when you were interacting, that was helping me, because then people are like, oh shit. And see what I'm saying about, we're like, como que estamos prisioneros, como que we like locked up, like we like not,
we're in the box.
We're not allowed to say. And I was the same. I was like, you know, certain times I am reserved, especially when I'm out and about. I don't be talking to nobody, because just the interaction with people out in the streets is crazy. But you know, the experiences that I have when I get to speak to someone, once they give me a chance to speak, oh man, they fucked up, because I'm giving them 5. Like, I'm dropping it, you know? And everything that I say, it's hard for someone to find a lie, because I'm just going in straight brimstone, you know, like dropping it. And then once I see that I'm losing them, when I see their eyes start getting like distracted, I'll pull back. I'm like, okay, let me eat up. Because I'm going too far, right? But my whole thing is like, okay, I'm gonna like trigger you. I'm gonna like inspire you. I'm gonna put something in your head. I'm gonna put something in there, because I'm not telling you nothing you haven't heard before. You know everything already. I'm just reminding you.
That is deep, bro. That is so deep. Like just to come down from everything you've spoken to about today, right? It just opens up a whole new level to a lot of people who are listening. And at the end of the day, we forget that we were once a child, you know what I mean? And sometimes we need to open that door once in a while and not make fun of a person who's not able to communicate. Because, like you said, they might just be in an adult box and they haven't tapped into their child box. And it's just now we have to figure out a way to communicate to them that it's okay to come outside the box and be a kid again and be happy, be able to smile, laugh, jump, joke around, and not have an issue with anything. Because we all lose that. And it's crazy because I didn't realize that until I spoke to you right now. And it opens up this whole new thing in my head. Like it just opened this little box. It's like, whoop, I'm like, yo. And it's not until you put it into perspective when I brought up my whole like family thing. And you said, it's like, yo, they just, feel some kind of way. You need to learn how to interact with them and see how can you get them to, speak back and get that response, unlike your co-host who they look out and they reach out to him.
Right.
So I got to figure out a formula to be a little bit more, per se, approachable.
Something,
something like that.
Something along the lines, yeah, something along where they're gonna. It's a different interaction, right? Or you might have to just be the mastermind and know how to say something, but without them making them feel like they're being told what to do, or that they feel like they're less, or that they are like ignorant. You know what I'm saying? Like I learned that. I'm still learning it, but I learned how to approach certain people when I speak to them to soften my blade, because if I swing too hard or it's too sharp, they're gonna start bleeding, and then they're either gonna like slice me back, or they're gonna not want to interact. Right? So yeah. Sometimes I'm talking to somebody and they might say something ignorant, or they're like saying something slick on me, and I just kind of like divert it, and then I just kind of like ease up on it, and then I go to give them some energy and some power, some information, and then on a Jedi mind trick, I even kind of like check them without them even realizing. And like you said, it just clicks in their head. They're like, "Oh shit!" I can see it in their mind when they're like quiet, and then I just play, and then after that I change the subject. And that's again, we're all having this thought process, but then it gets lost in the mind, and that's the communication. We're losing communication, and sometimes you do have to. And I say that with a heavy heart, but sometimes you do have to disconnect from certain people, even close people. Like it's even someone that you thought was like, damn, like, and you have to pull back, and like, oh, and the more you're processing it, you pull out even further and further. You're like, damn, but we were supposed to be this and be that, and we're like, and it's certain situation with the relationships and all this talk too, and it's just like that energy was maybe not there, or it was just forcing something. And that's what communication, and that it's okay to pull away, because if you imagine, I mean, I don't know certain situation because I've never been in a very long lasting relationship, but you imagine how many people right now are living in homes with their partner or significant other, and they've been there for years and years, not knowing that there's the possibility of saying it's okay if we pull away a little bit, or we, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, that's jail, bro. That's jail.
Yeah, you're doing a relationship bid. You're doing a bid and you don't even know it just because you're not comfortable to say it's okay to separate.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And indirectly, we all know people like that. You know what I mean? We grew up with people like that too.
You
And then
bet.
they split up when they're like 60. It's like, yo, you waited till you were 60 years old to start a new life when you could have done this 30 years earlier.
Bro, every subject we're talking about, I I got like a whole other ocean. But you know what I'm saying? I just keep it light because, you know, part of the discovery of me traveling and then expressing myself in the artistic realm, it opened up portals in my mind that connect to so many layers of life, like different subjects, like business approach, uh, you know, relationship with kids and parents. Um, to teach kids that it's okay for them to not understand their parents because kids don't know that the parent has trauma. They don't know that. You understand? Like I say it like this: like when you meet your parents, you're around 4 or 5. When you're a baby and like 2 or 3, you know they're your parents because they're like, you know, caring for you. But you don't meet them until you're around where your faculties start coming into place. When you're about 4, 5, 6, 7, that's when you meet your parents and you kind of getting to know them. They're like, oh, he's like that and she's like this. So my uncle's like that or my grandma's like that. That's when you're getting to meet them. But then you're just tripping out because they do certain things and you're like, that's weird. That's weird. But the kids don't understand. They're not being taught psychology to realize that there's trauma and that's why the parent is being in a certain way. Right? Now, the parents or the adults are not learning also how to communicate with the children, but on a child level. Yeah, you can spoil them and Google Gaga them, and you know, like, you know, sometimes parents, when you're talking to kids, you get all that like you talk to them on that spoil level, you know, that little talk. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about returning to talk to them on the level like a child, because children are running child business on you all the time, and they are outsmarting you.
Like the movie Baby Boss. Boss Baby,
Exactly.
I mean.
See what I'm all these all this information is right there.
Yeah.
So again, when I was asking you about, do people ask you questions and stuff like that, to put content out there to ask people like, hey, what would you guys like to talk about? You guys want to talk, you know, when we have this other person on or whenever we're going to talk, like, what do you guys want to like talk about? What are you guys like interested in speaking about? Right. So, because that can trigger a lot of forum. The reason I'm saying this is because, again, when the kids are not being taught psychology about their parent or about adults, is because we think that the kids cannot comprehend psychology. Like, we think that they're kids, but they're smart. They're smart as fuck, right? Like, they can handle it.
Right. They can handle it. They can handle more than most adults. And we don't
Exactly my
even.
point. We think they can't, but they can. If you really knew what the kid is thinking or what he's seen or what he's learning, you don't want to know, right? Because he's
Yeah, you
already,
don't.
he probably don't even like you how you think he like you.
He's a Jedi. He's Jedi in your ass.
Yeah, right. So with that information, this is the point that I was saying about the disconnect, that we're not approaching this like from a child perspective, to know that the parent is going through some trauma, or that the parent get how to interact with children from a child level. Like, oh, let me get at this kid like on the like a child level, like when I was that age. And I'm not talking about like, oh yeah, you know, when I was young and I did that what you were doing. No, no, no. I'm talking about the psychology, right? To teach them, so then they can like be stronger and not go through so much of the shit they're gonna go through, because when they get onto the real world, they find out some fucking monsters out there. Right? So now we're returning back to the adults and the people that you know watching the podcast. I don't know who you got on there or what they're asking and stuff like that, but you know, approaching them and say, hey, what do you guys think? What do you guys want to talk about? What's the next topic? Next time we have someone on, or like next time, who wants to get on? Like, what do you guys want to like talk about? And I sometimes no one might say, oh, you're doing fine. No, but then you ask again. Maybe in a different approach, you know, like you ask again, and then, oh, okay. Oh, I can say something. I can suggest something. That makes sense, right? So, if you have some questions you want to tap on, let's you let me know what you're gauging on time, and if there's some things you want to like touch on artistically, let me know, and we'll, you know.
Nah, yeah, most definitely. I would definitely do the lives, because then I don't even need my laptop, and then it really won't be like a whole podcast thing, and we could just go on live, and then you know we'll both be on live, and then we could interact with everybody at the same time while you're doing your little tutorial.
So how would you record it? Would it still record or no?
With the phone. You know how when you go live on your phone, I would just send you a request, and then you will accept the request, and then we could be on live together at the same time. And then when it finishes, you could download that live.
Okay, so right now, when you're going through the podcast, you also have your phone on live.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
What are people asking? You know, what are they looking at? What are they saying?
So far, honestly, opening up the lives to listeners has helped. So Rasta Stamp podcast, he goes live, and he says that, you know, the lives have helped out a lot. So that's a good, hey, you know, you're hitting on points right there. And they also talking about you, that you're on point on what you're speaking about. And then about the chemistry in the brain, or as well, that has a big play about when, you know, you go on a trip and then you come back. That's why some people have, you know, bad experiences or don't come out of the trip per se. So yeah. So it's been, you know, they've been putting inputs, they've been putting comments in there. So it's been fun. Yeah. And they all been entertained with you, bro. You've been spitting gems the whole night. And you opened the box up to people look at life in a different type of way, you know what I mean? And I'm happy. I'm so happy you came on the show, bro. Because speaking to you, right? Like the 2 times we spoke together, it was an experience, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, in the back of my head, I'm like, yo, I can't wait for you to come on the show and spit the knowledge that you're giving me right now to the public or the listeners, bro. Because it's dope, you know what I mean? Like sometimes even with just doing this and being able to share the experience is amazing. Because just think about it. If I would have just reached out to you, right, and we'd have just had a phone call, this would have never aired out. You know what I mean? It would have just been a conversation between you and I. But when we're able to share it and people listen, and then in some way indirectly, people start thinking about life in a different manner, and then you use it in life, it does make you a better person as well. You know what I mean? It makes you grow, which that's a great thing, growing. And that's part of evolution. I always tell people the person that we were, even a year ago, to the person we're today, we're different. And that's part of evolution. And if you don't change who you are, then what are you doing? You know what I mean? Are you are you being part of that evolution? Or are you staying stagnant and you're not ever gonna pursue something new, a newer form of you? You know what I mean? It's the equivalence of like Dragon Ball Z, right? So let's say Goku would just has stood as Super Saiyan 1, right? And he would have never transformed ever. We would have never known about his final form, which is currently purple or God, Saiyan, right? So that's the same as us as humans. We have to we have to change through time. If we stay as that person, then who are we? We're just gonna be that same person who lives in the same neighborhood with the same mindset. Even if you say live in the same neighborhood and you change your mindset, you could change the people around you and make them better.
Yeah, bro. Definitely, bro. Like the power is crazy. It's kind of it's untapped resources. It's untapped. Like we haven't like we haven't not even got, like they say, let's call it again today, without getting too deep into it, that the energies of the spirit or the soul keeps coming back in a different form because it's all one, but at the same time there's levels and layers and like existence and dimensions, because the energy still has to come back and grab something or learn something or evolve from something to take it to something else, to create this other thing, because it's like there's something more to add to it. And your whatever you've been through is so part of you, but it's not defining like what you could be. And the way that I like to emphasize things in a thought process is enjoyable for me, because I know it's enjoyable for someone to process it in a like in the way you explained it with the Dragon Ball Z, right? Like you put that and then you put it into life, then people can connect to that. Well, you know, if I use certain verbiage to explain certain things, I know it's causing someone's mind to connect certain things, and where they're gonna be like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And that's the shortcut that could be given to everyone, and especially children, because they stretch us out and we do a 12-year sentence in school that is like unnecessary. And now they're shortening it up even more now, because the reason that this whole system shift is changing, without me getting too lost into the conspiracy theory type of stuff, because I could get really lost on that too as well, is that the humans in this existence right now, we are getting shook. Our core is getting shook. So we are getting rattled and we are waking up so fast. But they're hitting us, bombarding us hard left to right, because they can't let us free range wake up. And then they're shortcutting things, and they're like, oh, you don't even gotta go to college no more. Just go on Google and take a few courses, and then you're running an online business on this stuff. You know, affiliate marketing, study this, study cryptocurrency, study that. Like kids now can take their tablet, learn about those bots you're saying, the squares, was that the
Minecraft?
Minecraft, Roblox, and all this stuff. Within 6 months to a year, they're making NFTs. So parents don't realize the power that even though it's a distraction, even though the tablet is not that healthy, at the same time, in that kid, in his era right now, in 6 months to a year, that 9-year-old, that 11-year-old, he could be running a business. Because these NFTs, this cryptocurrency, and everything we're hearing is going in that direction. It ain't going away. The blockchain technology with all the crypto wallets, the NFTs, the e-commerce, the affiliate marketing, like all this stuff, it's not going away. Oof. Whatever we thought is gone. It's been done.
It's gone.
It's gone. We're getting shook right now, and that's why we can't handle it. Some of us are just having distress. A lot of people are having distress because of the anxiety. They're like, when are we going back to normal? When are we going back to normal? When are we going back to normal? You know, I'll take all the 7 shots they're gonna have. Like, what else I gotta do? Does that make sense? Like, yeah. Oh, now we gotta take 7 shots. I'll take them all. But you still gotta like put on your spacesuit to go to the bodega, right? You're like, wait, what? Make sense? Right? You do it, right? But I want to go back to normal. Normal is done. It's no more normal.
Yo,
it's a wrap.
That's it. Yo, he killed it. He killed it. You killed it right there. That's it. It's a wrap.
It's done.
It's done. Yo. With that said, let everybody know where they could find you, your pages, your links, you know, so they could keep in touch with you if they want to reach out to you, if they want to, you know, send you a message, if they want to, you know, bring you onto their show or anything of that source. Let them know, because I'm still gonna add it once I post it. I'll link whatever you say right now. I'll post it up on the
I'm 100%, bro. I mean, I want you to send me this content as well, so I can edit some of this stuff and upload it. I definitely wanna swing by New York. You know, definitely. Like the sooner the better. I mean, we'll talk. You know, and we can swing down, run over there for a week. I don't know, for a couple of days. I don't care. Like I'll go next week. Like you disappointed. We could sort out. Like I'm that type of energetic being. Like I'll stay stagnant and grind where I'm at, but if some little portal open,
you're out.
I'm jumping. But for sure, bro. The Lune Arts is the main page. That's like, you know, I'm gonna filter out some stuff out of it because I want to make it a little tighter, a little cleaner, a little bit more concise. The Lune ink, that's where like a lot of the uploads on the art and the ink work is the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok, the Lune ink on TikTok. I'm working on building a website as well, but I'm like doing everything myself. So when I'm ready to hire someone, I know exactly what to hire them for, right? I've tried different things with different people and different projects. Sometimes they don't pan out because I'm just like, don't know specifically what to ask for, you know? And, you know, or I can't afford the whole package of what they're gonna, you know, what they could do, whatever the reason. So I'm doing a lot of the searching and learning and research because I want to put out so much content, but I can't do it all myself. But if I learn specifics, then I know what to hire out certain people for. But they can send emails to the lunards@gmail.com, through Instagram, because everything's faster, through social media, just a DM away.
Yeah.
Facebook is the same. And my name is Carlos Luna if they want to like search me up on Facebook, but everything's under the Lunards or the Lune Inc. I'm gonna expand and make other platforms with other sublinks or sub names, but for now those are the main ones: the Lunards and the Lune Inc.
All right, nice. Yeah, so somebody just reach out to Quintero Studios. I'll send you their link afterwards as
Oh,
well.
cool.
Reach out to them as well. He's the one who helped me out with the logo and stuff. So yeah. And his brother does the 88th Street Lucha, which is a dope comic book.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
man. Yeah. So with that said, guys, thank you for everybody listening today. And like
Thank you
always,
for having me, bro. Thank you. It was a good time.
same here. And don't forget, guys, life's a joke.